Hello folks and welcome back to another action movie recommendation. Today we'll be looking at the 1986 action classic The Delta Force starring Chuck Norris. But first of all, a little history. Prior to his film career, Chuck Norris started out as a martial artist achieving much praise. However, it was when he scored a role in Bruce Lee's film Way of the Dragon that made film producers turn their heads. And after that, he went on to star in many action films throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Now I'm going to confess something here. I'm not the biggest Chuck Norris fan. I appreciate his martial arts abilities, but his acting ability is very limited, and in my honest opinion, he doesn't have much charisma. However, he's made about 7 or 8 films that I have enjoyed despite all that. And my personal favourite of all these films will have to be The Delta Force. So, let's dig in. Chuck Norris is Major Scott McCoy, commander of the special ops team known as the Delta Force, and his latest assignment is a heated one. Terrorists have hijacked an airliner and are threatening to kill all on board, unless their demands are met. It's now up to McCoy, his partner Nick Alexander, and their team of commandos to take control of the situation and save the hostages by any means necessary. The Delta Force is quite possibly the most un-PC action film to ever be made. However, if you can look past the heavy-handed politics and the pro-Israeli and American propaganda, it is possible to enjoy this film. Chuck Norris, despite what I said about his lack of charisma and ability to act, actually does reasonably well in his role, and his physicality and stunt work in this film is definitely at its peak. Lee Marvin is also in this movie, as Norris's mentor-like partner. This was also Marvin's last film before his untimely passing a year later. Marvin doesn't have a whole lot to do in the film, but it was nice to see him in it. The actors who play the terrorists do a fine job in their roles, and the movie does make attempts to show that they have some humanity. And I only say some because they still do kill regardless of what humanity they show. But nevertheless, it makes them more interesting than if they were just plain merciless killers. However, the actors playing the hostages are pretty bad for the most part. Some so bad it's cringeworthy. But there's a couple like the priest and flight attendant who would do a decent job. But the rest of them, not so much. The first half of the movie plays out more like a dramatic thriller, and it's loosely based on a true story in which it actually followed pretty accurately until the last half of the film when it goes into all-out action mode. Yes, this is a canon film after all, and Menachem Golan directed it, so of course it's going to be over the top. But to be fair, this is perhaps Menachem's best film. The action is well shot and choreographed, and there's lots of explosions, gunfire, and of course, some great one-liners from Chuck Norris. The best one being when he kills a bad guy hiding under a bed, and he delivers the line, "Sleep tight, sucker." By the end of the movie, we have Chuck Norris on a high-tech motorcycle with missile launchers. What's not to like? And to top it off, we have quite possibly, in my opinion, the most definitive 80s action movie theme ever recorded. It was one of Alan Silvestri's first movie themes, and in my opinion, one of his best. It's right up there with his score to Predator, and it really helps to drive the action scenes with that fist-pumping yeah factor. The movie was a moderate box office success, making about $18 million on a $9 million budget. But critically, it was hated. Many criticized the acting and heavy-handed politics and propaganda. And yeah, it's true, these things are quite possibly the worst thing about the film. However, if you can look past that and take it as a B-grade, over-the-top 80s action film, it is possible to enjoy it. I never really cared for the politics anyway, because the action was so damn good. And Delta Force delivers the action without any restraint, and for that, it gets the thumbs up from me. Overall, I give it 3.5 out of 5. Now, there were 2 sequels to Delta Force, but I personally don't recommend them as they are just really bad. But I'll quickly go over them. Delta Force 2 came out in 1990 and once again starred Chuck Norris. However, the plot was uninteresting and a bit convoluted. And the villain was a wasted opportunity because the villain was played by Billy Drago, who I think is a talented actor as evidenced in The Untouchables, but since then he has been wasted in really crappy roles, and his role in Delta Force 2 is no exception. He starts off as pretty intimidating, but by the end of it, his threat diminishes, and the action this time around is routine and nothing really exciting, and Chuck Norris is at his most boring in this film. Overall, avoid it. I give it 1 out of 5. And Delta Force 3 is a strange one because it has almost nothing to do with the first two films. Hell, it doesn't even star Chuck Norris. The only actor I recognised was Nick Cassavetes, who is the son of actor John Cassavetes. I liked Nick in movies like Face Off, The Wraith and Black Moon Rising, but here, he's just phoning it in. But we also have Eric Douglas, son of Kirk Douglas, and believe it or not, we also have Mike Norris. And yes, he is the son of Chuck Norris. No joke. Are you seeing a pattern here? Almost all the lead actors are sons of more famous actors. I always found that amusing. And the action is once again routine and nothing exciting, and overall the production quality was very cheap. And I think this was one of the last Canon films before they went bankrupt, and it only went direct to video, and it definitely shows. This movie is just bad. This one gets a flat 0 out of 5 from me. Well, that's my review of Delta Force and my quick comments on the sequels because I really didn't have much to say about them. But anyways folks, thanks for watching and stay tuned for more.